Okay guys, welcome to Links London, the Links London global headquarters. Today I thought I'd share with you a little behind the scenes, the restoration of a vintage, certainly retro, Links of London heart charm. Now I'm going to photograph this or video it in our light box that we use for product photography, so you get a fair comparison of the condition it is in now, before restoration, and afterwards once we're done. Hopefully you'll be able to see the difference quite clearly then, although these don't photograph well when they're mirror finished. I've restored a few of these and you just get the outline, but we'll give it a go. So this heart charm was one of Links of London's, arguably one of its most popular designs, based purely on the amount that are on the used market today. They sold a considerable amount of them, and it was available not only in this polished silver finish, or once polished silver finish, they had coloured enamel versions and almost like an oxidized coloured oxidization version of these as well, and there was a miniature, and sometimes the miniature was combined with the enameled ones to do a double heart charm. So the plan for this one, it's got some quite big marks along the edges. So I think what I'll do with this, initially I'll use a satin polishing wheel just to get the worst of the marks out. Then I'm going to put it in the barrel polisher. I think we'll try this with ceramic media first, just to get to flatten off and reduce down the marks from the first polishing process, the satin wheel, and also just to get in to some of the areas that maybe the mops will struggle with, like inside the bail and around the jump ring, the detailed area around the jump ring. We'll use first of all ceramic media, then mixed shot, which will give it a machine polish, which is probably the way these were polished, or a similar way to the way these were polished originally. And then once we've got a good machine polish on it, we'll then finish it with a hand finish, which they may not have ever had originally. We'll give it a proper mirror finish, so it may end up with a slightly higher finish than they did originally. And we'll also, I'm going to remove the split ring and straighten that out, reshape that and polish that. We'll barrel polish that, and then we'll take some photos. Right, let's get cracking. Okay, our heart charm has been in the ceramic for over an hour actually. It wasn't alone, I put some other pieces in there as well. So I've tipped the media out into this old baking tray. The ceramic tends to give everything this flat matte, not satin, a flat matte finish, which is very similar in colour to the ceramic and makes silver quite hard to find in it. I'll give you a close-up. So it appears to have flattened down all of the marks that were put in by the satin wheel we used. So the next step now is to go back into the barrel, but with different media, with stainless steel mixed shot. So a combination of pins, balls and sort of satellite shaped pieces. And now, like the ceramic, get into all the nooks and crannies, especially into the bail, and begin the polishing process. It's metal rubbing against metal, so there's less removal than there is using the ceramics, and metal's money, so you don't want to remove too much. So with the steel shot, it's burnishing, which is an age-old process, would traditionally have been done by hand. Now we have barrels to do it for us. So we'll get this in there, and that will help polish some of the areas that be very difficult to reach, like inside the bail and inside the jump ring. And some manufacturers that will be the end of the polishing process, but once we've got, that's how good it is, but it's not good enough. We then need to go to hand finishing, but we'll get the machine finishing done first and then hand polishing. Okay, our heart charm's been in the barreler, in the shot, for a little over an hour, and it's definitely an improvement. It's turned what was a dull matte finish into a slightly brighter satin finish, and it's got into all the intricate areas that we wanted to, but now this definitely needs a good hand polish. We'll be able to get from this point, we'll be able to get a mirror finish. However, it's getting dark, and it's not just getting dark, it's getting late. So I think that'll be a job for tomorrow. Polishing. Okay, our heart charm has come out really well. These polish up beautifully. Now, I'm going to photograph this in our Lightbox, the product photography, because this is going to go in the Links London store. There's one problem with these. They look phenomenal in real life. It's a really cool three-dimensional design. They just don't photograph well. They polish up so well. They're so reflective. They just don't look they don't look as good on a white background as they do in real life. I think maybe I'm going to have to photograph them on a model or even video them for the website eventually. Now, a friend of mine, I've refurbished a few of these before, and I've refurbished two for the same friend who wears them as a pendant on a necklace. She's got one on a black silk necklace and the other on a sterling silver chain necklace, and they're quite a substantial charm. Actually, they work really well as a pendant. In fact, all of the Links of London, most of the Links of London charms work really well as a pendant on a necklace, not just as a charm, because the built-in bail, which is about 8 by 6 mil, is the perfect dimensions to be worn as a pendant. But yeah, this one's come up really well. So we used the satin wheel on the polishing machine to... The good thing about using the satin wheel first is you can focus on particular areas that need a lot of work, as opposed to leaving them in the barreling polish for hours and hours and hours, because you're removing metal, and metal is money. And it's a balancing, restoration and repair is a balancing act. You want the things to look good, but you also want to not just restore and make them look good. It's also an element of preservation. You want to preserve as much of the pieces as possible. So yeah, it's a balancing act. So you can use the satin wheel and focus in. It's selective, so we can go into the areas that are dented and dinged up the most, remove the scratches, and then we went in the barrel polisher into the ceramics, which gives you the flat matte finish, gets rid of some of the general wear and tear, as this was a little bit dinged up, I guess, from being on a charm bracelet. It's just knocking against other charms and knocking against daily life. They can just mark each other a little bit. There's actually a heart charm on there. So yeah, the flip-flop would have been dinging in to that for the nearly 20 years, and it's done some dents. We'll polish those out. So yeah, into the ceramic. That gives it a flat matte finish. We then went into the mix shot, which starts the polishing process, gives a nice bright finish, and certainly gets into the jump rings and into the inside of the bail, where the mops find it, into the areas that are hard to reach with the polishing machine, and then onto the polishing machine for a hand finish. And I used a stainless steel, a polish designed for stainless steel on this, called Hi-Fin, and a soft mop, a reasonably soft mop. I think that one I've got there is a reflex, so that can press into all the little areas. It's given a really good mirror finish, no dents or scratches left. And this can now be, we'll put this in the store with a split ring, so it can be worn on a conventional, on an old-fashioned style charm bracelet like this one, a solid charm bracelet. It could be soldered on, hard soldered on, or we'll add a sweetie link, so it could be easily, they work like a keyring. It could be added and then removed. You really need to use a split ring if you're going to add it to a sweetie bracelet. The only way to hard solder these on is to cut the elastic, solder it onto one of the links, and then restring the whole bracelet. But that is an option if you wanted it hard soldered onto us and then add it to a sweetie bracelet. You could just restring, you could add it to a sweetie link, or you could even just restring the whole bracelet with one of these in between the sweetie links. There you have options. But also, equally, because of the size of the bail on this, they can very easily be converted to a pendant and be worn as a pendant on a necklace. So, yeah, we need to take the photos for this now, get this in store. And I'll see you in the next one. I hope you enjoyed this little look behind the scenes of a charm restoration. Toodles!